Let's roll in the deep, sir.
Rolling in the deep. It is too much, Luigi. I cannot do that song. It is too the level of quality required is too high for me to attempt it.
No songs on the show. Welcome
No
back.
Adele songs.
Welcome back,
good.
folks.
Welcome back
to another week, another glorious episode of Radio Rocketman. We're gonna be covering a lot of stuff today, George.
Too much stuff. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna stuff it full, and we're gonna try not to get a prolapse.
a news shock.
So let's start quickly.
Let's do it. Let's
now
rapid
that
fire mode.
We have welcomed the fall. Have you heard Donny's new nickname for DeSantis?
Trump's new what is it?
The nickname is Meatball Ron. He's too many meatballs.
Ron.
Do you like it? How would you rate it?
I'd rate it 2 out of 10 for
2 out of 10. Better or worse than Sanctimonious?
Well, I'm seeing some like 1 hour ago articles, and like Trump claims he will never call Ron DeSantis Meatball Ron.
It's so funny, right? In a late night post to his Truth Social platform, the one that nobody's on Saturday, the former president used an extant nickname when he... What the fuck is that word?
Keep rolling, keep going.
When he wrote, I will never call Ron the sanctimonious Meatball Ron, as the fake news is insisting I will.
This is a verbatim quote.
Verbatim, yeah.
I will never call Ron the sanctimonious Meatball Ron. I mean, it's already happening. Comedy gold has already been struck, and we haven't even entered the debate season yet.
Yeah, extant means still in existence, surviving. This shit has not been used for a while. I'm looking at the usage of the word from Google. I don't know how accurate this shit is, but it's very low these days. It was very hip as a word in the 1800s.
Nice. Last used by Shakespeare.
My dude, who wrote this?
And gentleman in the 1800s.
A genteel folk from the 1800s. What the fuck is an extant nickname? Maybe I'm stressing over this word, but what the fuck? Yeah.
So DeSantis hasn't really responded to Trump so far. I haven't seen anything.
Nah, he's taking the high road, and it's not working. It's very beta, Luigi. It's very beta.
There can only be one alpha. I'm the alpha.
I mean, we said what he's got to do. He's gotta take the spotlight from Donny, and I mean, Donny still is not using Twitter or Facebook, which is a hindrance on him. It is pulling back his energy levels.
He's working with a handicap.
Yeah, he's doing the handicap. So, I mean, if Donny gets on Twitter and really goes apeshit, I think DeSantis will disappear from the face of the universe, dude. And I don't think DeSantis has the capability to deal with the raging inferno that will come his way if the orange one takes absolute control of the megaphones that will actually provide the most reach. No, Truth Social, dude. Truth Social is, forget it, Donny.
The home of troglodytes.
Universally. I mean, what is Twitter, right? So imagine, what kind of troglodytes.
Foreshadowing.
Imagine what kind of troglodytes we're talking about.
So, US election trail. Looking forward to it. Still isn't happening, though.
And the nickname is not that good yet.
Yeah, the nickname is not even better. It's Gamma.
Meatball Ron. Meatball?
No. He will never use it. He's promised. It's done. A promise from the Donny. We're gonna build the wall. Look at it. Half the wall is built. We've built half the wall.
The original section, Luigi. As the founding fathers intended it. The founding Hulk Hogan. What was the other one? Stallone. The beautiful Stallone.
Nice.
And Donald never breaks his promises.
There will come a day, Ron, when I will ask a favor of you.
Don't eat those meatballs. They're mine. By the way, just a mini second to just contemplate on this. By the way, is he calling him a fat ass? And if he is, has he checked his own fucking weight?
my scales are the best scales.
I mean, you see the whole thing he's doing. He's been doing for a while. The whole,
He's projecting. He's
that-
projecting his
I mean,
weaknesses onto his opponents. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's shameless 100%. But I mean, the attire he wears, the super baggy long shirt, the really long ties that go up to your penis. That just makes that just makes him look a bit slimmer than he is.
You wear the ties to point the entire world to the source of your strength.
My mushroom powers.
All right.
But I mean, he's a diva. We're deteriorating. We're deteriorating fast.
Keep going.
He's a diva, isn't he? He's the absolute diva.
Alrighty then.
Let's move on quickly. Yeah. I've got. There's talks in the UK that Sunak is likely in the coming weeks to come up with an agreement in the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, this is very complicated, the Northern Ireland Protocol, because it's connected with what happened in Ireland, Northern Ireland, the Good Friday Agreement, etc., freedom of movement within Ireland to stop the troubles. What you have to understand is that Bojo basically gave 5 shits about what was going to happen in Northern Ireland. And so went along with his plan without really caring what were the consequences of a very hard-fought peace as well.
Let's explain what they're trying to avoid. So basically, it has to do with trade, essentially. So if the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union, there would have to be like a customs border, a border, basically, between the two Irelands, and that will be extremely detrimental to the stability of the entire situation.
Yeah, there cannot be a border within Ireland, so you're going to set it up somewhere. And the decision came that it was going to set up in the sea, basically, between Northern Ireland and the UK. But then that creates issues for the unionists. And how would you characterize those people? The descendants of colonialists, let's say, who have colonized Northern Ireland and so prefer to maintain better connections with Britain than Ireland. It is very complicated. I've actually read through parts of the Good Friday Agreement. There's stipulations in it that in the future, if the communities of both Ireland and Northern Ireland want to unite, then unification must be given to them. But yeah, the gist
what's Sunak trying to do?
Sunak is basically what the agreement is shaping up to be slightly easier for goods dedicated to going to Northern Ireland, slightly easier for them to get there, provided they're going to stay there. He will provide, the UK will provide real-time access to the information of goods as they're traveling to Northern Ireland to make sure that the integrity of the European market is preserved, because the EU fears that you can have basically a backdoor through the EU market.
Smuggle stuff without proper oversight. And this has been going on for something like 4 years now.
Ever since the Brexit.
Yeah, and it's a mess. It's a hot mess, and it can only be resolved with a fudge. There's no real solution.
Yeah, they're going to make it slightly easier,
everyone,
provided the UK gives a bit more access to real-time info on goods being transported, and then the EU will maintain the European Court of Justice as the final arbiter, but they're going to add a few more arbitration steps on the way before it goes to the European Court.
Okay.
But I mean, you have to understand and you have to expect that the Brexiteers are not happy with this. I mean, they're all going fucking bananas over it. So I don't know whether this will be possible in the end. For his part, Sir Keir from the Labour Party has come out and said that he will back the plan. Rishi doesn't have to try and appease unappeasable crazies, basically, who'd rather not solve this and just bang on about the European Union forever for votes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you understand that Sunak, bit of a hard place for that, because he's the leader of the Conservative Party, as it may be now. So, I mean, just joining in with Labour to get it through, I don't know what that does to your authority as the leader.
It don't look good, mate.
Don't look good. But it rarely does in these Kerse dials, so let's move on.
All right. With British politics out of the way, where do we go, sir?
I've got very quickly about Peru, and you had mentioned what was happening a few episodes ago.
Massive protests.
Yes. Because of the president, Pedro Castillo was accused of staging a coup. I still haven't decided about that one, Luigi. After attempting to dissolve Congress and rule by decree, I don't know what's happening there, but we know, what we do know 100% is that people are angry, especially the people that voted for Castillo.
Yeah.
And Amnesty International had a fact-finding mission and investigated 46 possible cases of human rights violations by the police response to the protests and documented 12 cases of deaths from the use of firearms. In a damning report, he said the organization's America's director said the Peruvian authorities had permitted excessive and lethal use of force to be the government's only response for more than 2 months to the clamor of thousands
So they're
of
basically shooting people in the streets. Is that what you're saying?
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But also that there was explicit racism against indigenous people who took to the streets. The investigation by the marked racist bias targeting historically marginalized populations. Indigenous populations in Peru represent only 13% of the total population, but they account for 80% of the total deaths registered since the crisis began.
If the deaths are relatively low, I mean, that might express, so 48 people have been killed by security forces. I mean, it's not a huge sample.
We don't know how many injured.
That as well.
It's not a huge sample, but I mean, you don't kill people protesting, obviously. Even one death is one too many, right?
Oh, of course. Especially when you're just shooting people in the streets.
Who happen to be mainly indigenous people. Be a problem, Gav.
So Peru is not in a good place.
Not in a good place. Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's stay in the Americas. I've got some Brazilian news. So basically, Lula da Silva.
Inácio Lula da Silva.
Exactemo. He's basically
he's come under a lot of fire.
He's come under a lot of fire lately.
Yeah,
because
under some fire.
Everything he's trying to do is met with a lot of opposition. Now, the piece of news I've got here is he's trying to raise the central bank's inflation target. So that's basically allowing more inflation. And that has gotten a lot of pushback, not least from the central bank itself. And the logic just goes that you can't change your inflation target just because inflation is high.
What does he want to change it to? And what is it now? Is it about 2%? What is it? What are they doing?
I think it's 3%.
3%. What does he want to make it to?
4, probably.
My God, and they're making a fuss about all this. About 1 fucking percentage point. Crazy people, Luigi.
I mean, it has to do with credibility, right? So if
you don't want to mess with these things a lot.
Yeah, if the logic is every time there's a bit of trouble, we're gonna start moving our target. That doesn't inspire a lot of stability, a lot of confidence.
Although you have to admit that Brazil is a country that, a developing country, is still so a bit more trouble than the usual developed nation. A few more issues to deal with.
100%. Here's how you do it. You just stick to the original target, but you accept you're going to miss it for a couple of years because you're in a period of high inflation right now.
Definitely. I thought you were going to give me RD numbers or something.
No.
What else you want to make the inflation target? 150%.
I mean, you also have to take into account that interest rates in Brazil are currently 14%. So what Lula is calling for is a slightly more relaxed
interest rates.
Yeah, a slightly more relaxed stance by the central bank.
Do you understand why people want that? Obviously, because stimulate growth economy. Obviously, you do, Luigi. I mean,
of course,
it stimulates economic growth. A loyal audience. You need economic growth. So I mean, when you're gonna pay 14% on your debt, be harder to stimulate it.
What Lula wants now that he's come in office is to do a lot of spending basically and target lower segments of the population. He can't really do that if the government is borrowing if 14% is the interest rate, the government is probably borrowing for 16 or 17%.
Yeah, and that is hard because you gotta pay that back. It limits your options.
At least in the short term, maybe. If they issue
and Luigi, he's got into a bit of heat as well because he refuses to be as outwardly against Russia as the United States and Europe are.
Indeed, he's been a little bit more ambiguous on the Ukraine issue. He's tried to take the middle sort of ground, the Erdogan approach, I
I
guess.
wouldn't say the Erdogan to that degree, because Erdogan actually has better links with Putin, connections, and economically as well. Economically as well. I mean, they take oil, etc. I think Lula is actually more honest in what he's doing, and he actually believes in what he's saying, in being a bit more diplomatic with this.
Yeah, so...
And you have to understand that for Latin Americans, it's hard to trust the Americans on foreign policy.
it's hard to trust them for anything, except for tourism.
Yeah, we love them. Taquitos.
All right, so that's it from the Latin side of America.
Let's go up. Let's go upwards for a second. I love the way we're doing it. We should get a real-time globe that we can move it. Let's go a bit up.
Zooming into Peru.
Well, let's zoom back to the States. And we've got the outraged Senator Ron Wyden has urged the FBI to explain. He's outraged. Oh. He has urged the FBI to explain its tactics from 2020 protests, the BLM protests, because there's been reports that the FBI has used an informant to infiltrate the Black Lives Matter in Denver during the wave of protests over the 2020 police killing of George Floyd. And the informant is alleged to have encouraged protesters to engage in increasingly violent demonstrations while trying to entrap them in criminal misdeeds. It gets very grey, Luigi. This sort of thing. I'm not gonna lie. They've done it on far right figures as well, and it gets very muddy because you're encouraging the violence, and they've done it with Islamic terrorists as well. They get a Muslim kid, I don't know, 15-year-old son of immigrants in fucking New York, who hasn't got a single friend, who's a fucking incel. And then they tell him, let's Allahu Akbar, dude. And eventually the kid is like, okay, let's do it. And it's like, okay, meet me there, I've got the guns. And then they just arrest him. And you start wondering, would he have done it without this incitement? Yeah, I mean, it's very grey, this sort of shit. And this
how is it grey? Like, the police shouldn't incite anything. I'm
being very generous.
You don't pour gasoline on the fire. You try to extinguish the fire.
You don't, right? I mean, because you're putting the gasoline as well. It's not like you're being a passive, observant of what's happening.
I mean, if the police officer's life is threatened and he has to keep cover, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it can get complicated. I get what you're saying, but we're not talking about infiltrating cartels or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're talking about
it's a protest movement.
Yeah, instigating more violent protests while you're an FBI informant. And I wanted to mention this because there's a lot of people that think the FBI used to do this. No, amigo, the FBI does it. The FBI does it. They even spy on your neighborhood climate change council is trying to get a few more maple trees planted in the main street.
Everybody's afraid of them. Like I remember a clip from Chuck Schumer while Trump was in office, and Trump had said something against the CIA, I think, or I don't know, maybe it was the FBI, and Schumer came out and basically said, you don't want to mess with the security apparatus because they've got 6 ways to Sunday to screw you over. That was basically the leader of the US Senate telling the president that he shouldn't mess with an agency.
The CIA?
They've got a little bit of power, you could say.
Yeah. Although, I mean, in a battle between Trump and the CIA, I genuinely root for no one. But yeah, I remember that quote you mentioned.
The former head of the CIA and former US Secretary, Mike Pompeo, he had got some news here about Pompeo making a statement about Israel and Palestine. We've basically got, all right, so this is from The Guardian. Mike Pompeo, former U.S. Secretary of State, has defended Israel's decade-long control of the Palestinian territories by claiming that the Jewish state had a biblical claim to the land and is therefore not occupying it.
I'll try and do the Pompeo voice. It's not occupied nation, but as an evangelical Christian, I am convinced by my reading of the Bible that 3,000 years on now, in spite of the denial of so many, this land is the rightful. I mean, he's convinced, dude. He's not an occupying nation. He's read the Bible, dudes. He's read the Bible.
It's a biblical claim. I mean,
Jesus, I mean,
let's start running everything by biblical claims.
This is a storied individual, a scholar of the Bible. I mean, he's read it, folks, and it's not an occupying nation. He's read the Bible. What else is there to say?
This guy is gonna be running. He's gonna be running for president, side to side with Trump and Ron DeSantis. This is gonna be glorious.
Do you think this shit is gonna get him a 1% more? I don't know.
Probably. I mean, this might sit well with the evangelical.
Yeah, he's trying to quote the evangelical, but they've got Mike Pence, Luigi.
Mike Pence is no longer with Trump.
Yeah, but you're right. He hasn't announced yet.
He's gone solo. He's gone dark.
Mike Solo Run.
Mike's solo adventures.
But if he runs, he's going to take most of the evangelical vote. He's the chosen one.
The Pence.
I mean, Pompeo is also evangelical, but Mike is pure evangelical.
One Pence to rule all evangelicals. Crafted in Indiana, designed in the Holy Land.
Approved by mother.
All right.
So that's Pompeo. He's read the Bible, folks. Pathetic.
Yeah. I'm gonna start living like we should do territorial law by biblical claims.
I mean, the guy's read
biblical
one
court of justice.
The fucker has read one book, and it's the fucking Bible. We're screwed. However, we're going to be more news, Luigi, about the Chinese spy balloon.
Ooh, my favorite.
I read that it may have been blown off course, the Chinese spy balloon. We're talking about the first balloon now, the Chinese spy balloon.
Yeah, look at the Chinese spy balloon. I can really believe that it might have been an actual spy balloon with some spyware.
I believe that as well, but we've had statement about that maybe China didn't actually want it to. That was
that's possible. Here's where the plot thickens. The last time we spoke, like the picture wasn't complete yet, but like after the US shot down the spy balloon, they also, like in the course of the following week, they shot down another 30 objects.
You wanna get on the spicy balloons?
They shot down another 30 objects, which they specifically, like they didn't say a lot, but they specifically said they were not balloons. There were reports that one of the pilots said it was a cylindrical object, that another pilot said that
an octagonal. I remember octagonal. Yeah. It was like Bowser's shell, basically.
Another pilot said that it interfered with his airplane's instruments.
We had a billion contradictory reports. Yeah.
We had a billion contradictory reports, but here's what is indisputable. Like the White House doesn't have a good explanation about what happened, but 3 objects were shot down over American skies in the course of a week, and they are not balloons.
Apparently,
something else.
Apparently, it is because with the coming of the Chinese spy balloon and the media circus this created, that they recalibrated the radar systems and they started picking up a lot of shit that they weren't picking up before.
But here's why that doesn't make sense. I still don't think whatever that is Chinese, because if it was Chinese...
Oh, no, I'm not saying it was Chinese.
Like, if there was even a possibility that it was Chinese, the Americans would have been way more aggressive with the whole situation. Like, we've been getting reports of this stuff flying from American pilots, for a decade or so. And, like, it's been ignored by every level of the government. So this begs the question, why start shooting them down now?
Apparently, the thing I've read is that they were sort of became a heightened scenario because of the Chinese spy balloon, and suddenly they were shooting down every fucking thing that bleeped on the radar. Apparently, the one in Illinois may be from a hobby group with amateur hobbies, $12 balloon. The Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade, they're the best brigade, says one of its hobby craft went missing in action over Alaska. The same day, the US F-22 jet downed an unidentified airborne entity not far away from Canada's Yukon. But yeah, they came out with all that. Then Biden came out and said, actually, they were...
It's not a balloon. It's aliens.
I wish that would have been epic. People of America, God bless the troops. The aliens are coming. No, he says just
abandon hope.
Abandon hope, fuckers.
And bring me my ice cream.
ice cream. Yeah, he came out that it's research or commercial purpose balloons. That's what the latest news is on that. But they haven't, I believe, recovered the things they have downed.
Or they haven't revealed. They have.
Yeah, apart from the Chinese spy balloon, they haven't recovered the rest of them, or it hasn't been revealed.
One of it was shot over a lake, so I gotta find that. The other was shot over ground in Canada, so that's gonna be found too. The uncertainty is about the one in Alaska because it was over ice and maybe, I don't know.
China admitted it owned the first balloon and apologized, claiming it was not for surveillance, but then objected when it was shot down. The officials also said the search for the small object that was shot down over Lake Huron had stopped with nothing recovered. Also unrecovered were two objects shot down over the Yukon and northern Alaska. This is not good, Luigi. This is not competent.
Right, so
Here's
the facts.
Why did we only get the Chinese one?
We've been getting reports about this stuff flying around from actual pilots, not just reports, like
we've
videos.
We've mentioned
videos from instruments.
There have been hearings in Congress, etc.
Exactly, and I don't know, man. Like the pieces don't fit together.
Unrecovered. But they may be commercial balloons, but we haven't recovered fuck all. So how do we know that they're commercial? What the fuck?
And I mean, hear me out, right? If I'm an F-22 pilot, I can probably tell if it's a civilian air balloon or if it's something else. I mean, chances are it's my job to recognize stuff in the air. I don't know, man.
They do pay millions for their training.
And it's not just training, it's instruments. I mean, you can tell the size of something kilometers out. I don't know. It's just weird. Something stinks here and we don't have enough information to really put the pieces together. But
Pixar, it didn't happen, dude. Pixar, it didn't happen.
Chat logs, or it didn't happen.
Yeah, show us the logs, Jack.
Let's keep moving.
There's been a scoop about hacking and disinformation.
I want my ice cream with 3 scoops.
No surcharges. No baggage fees.
Sorry, you were saying?
No problem. That there's been a leak about a team of Israeli contractors who claim to have manipulated more than 30 elections around the world using hacking, sabotage, and automated disinformation on social media, which has been exposed in a new investigation. The unit is alleged to be run by Tal Hanan, a 50-year-old former Israeli Special Forces operative who now works privately using the pseudonym Jorge. Never trust a Jorge. I'll tell you that. He's being unmasked by an international consortium of journalists.
That was uncalled for. Well, I mean,
my name, dude. I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to shit on my namesakes.
Like you're Peter, you're not Pedro. You're not St. George.
Never trusted Donald as well. Hanan did not respond to detailed questions about Team Jorge's activities. He has denied the investigation has revealed extraordinary details about how this information is being You see, the one thing that Elon was right about is that fucking Twitter is infested with bots. Obviously, Elon doesn't give a shit now because he owns the fucking platform. But he was right the first time. This guy, by the way, the people who had covered him were from 30 outlets, including Le Monde, Der Spiegel.
Big outlet, big news outlets.
Big news.
Huge, the biggest news.
We're talking about 30,000 fake social media profiles who have been used to spread disinformation at scale and at speed. So we're talking about 30,000 fake accounts
that are being manipulated by a single entity
to basically interfere in elections. I mean, we've got a Twitter user, Elon. He looks ordinary enough. He has tweeted on everything from basketball to Taylor Swift, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club to the price of a Kit Kat. The profile shows a friendly-looking blonde man with a stubbly beard and glasses, who it indicates lives in Sheffield. But he's, in fact, a non-human bot linked to a vast army of fake social media profiles controlled by a software designed to spread propaganda. And it's
I'm
not
human, Lemoyne. I'm human.
It's not coincidence. By the way, they got him. They got this guy by pretending to be a bunch of corrupt politicians who wanted to influence an election, and he gave them prizes.
Excellent. Inciting. I like it.
I mean, you expect it, right? You expect it from a nation such as Israel, because when a nation spends 70% of its time spying on Palestinians and having cyber wars with Iranians, I mean, obviously their main export is gonna be fucking hacking and fucking election meddling services.
I've got some news out of Israel as well, since we are on the topic. The US envoy to Israel said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should slow progress on a contentious judicial overhaul.
It's a shitty overhaul.
That could make it harder for Washington to help him promote ties with Saudi Arabia or deal with Iran. So basically, Netanyahu is trying to carry through some changes to the legal system, to the judiciary.
The Supreme Court.
Which critics say endangers the country's democratic checks and balances.
The last checks and balances, and they are very few, but the last vestigial remaining balances are with the fucking courts and the Supreme Court. And he's trying to remove that as well, so be a full-on dictator. And by that point, forget about everything. I mean, there's not going to be...
Yeah, it seems that for the last many years, for the last decade or so, power has been getting more and more concentrated in Netanyahu's hands.
They're becoming an ethno-nationalist state. The Amnesty International and what's the other ones? And Human Rights Watch call them an apartheid state up to this point. And those are international, very, very well-regarded organizations and NGOs. And they call them an apartheid state. Israel has, in the past few years, explicitly changed its constitution to call itself a Jewish state, basically. And if you call yourself a Jewish state, that means that every Muslim in there is a second-class citizen.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, I imagine it's pretty much the same across the Arab world, but in the opposite direction.
I mean,
most probably.
You mean the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, etc.
Yeah,
I mean, the Gulf countries.
I mean, that's the neighborhood of the world that you compare yourself with. I don't know, like it's difficult to expect.
They want to call themselves to be the only democracy, barely a democracy at this point. Probably not going to be a democracy going forward if they carry on like this.
Yeah, so they had like 5 elections in the last 2 years or so.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And Netanyahu is back because he's the only person. Like there was a whole
he made a deal with the devil at this point.
There was a coalition government with its sole purpose being not letting Netanyahu back in, and yeah, that collapsed.
Yeah,
here we are.
Yeah, and Netanyahu managed to make a coalition with rabid extremists at this point. The kind of extremists you can't put on camera at this point. Kind of guys who are one of them that just goes around in Palestinian neighborhoods with guns. That's what he does. He's in the government now. It's incredible, really.
Machine Gun Benji.
It's very sad. It's very sad because there are many Jewish people, even in Israel, who really lament the state of the situation at this point. God knows what's going to happen going forward. Anyway.
Sad.
Very sad. Very sad. But I wanted to say about, because it is an Israeli firm, but it's much more than that. It's become increasingly difficult online to, especially with things dealing with politics, but I mean all sorts of PR, commercial purposes, etc. Influencers and the way that influencers advertise shit without really advertising it properly, without properly explaining that they're being paid to do it. It's increasingly become a hellhole, the internet environment of moneyed interests trying to manipulate opinions.
Excellent.
And I think it's very hard at this point to, and can you imagine the degree of how it can fuck up psychologically the citizens of a country? I mean, if you got 30,000 people propagating a single one viewpoint, and it's not the viewpoint you've got, you're going to feel alienated.
Hear me out though. I mean, I imagine every country has something similar. I can't imagine like there's a Russian Twitter bot, there's 100%. American Twitter bots. 100%. I mean, because this guy's got caught.
It's not every country though.
Every country that's actually on the map, if you want to put it in crude terms.
It's less than half the countries in the world. If you go arithmetically. But yeah.
Let's put it this way. Whoever ranks in the top 20 in terms of biggest economies, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, this isn't meant to castigate. This has nothing to do. They weren't working for Israel.
That was just an Israeli firm.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that it's very hard these days to distinguish authentic viewpoints, especially as regards politics in the online sphere. A lot of it is just manipulated.
Very hard days indeed, sir. What else do we have on our schedule?
We've got minor. We've got a little bit about Ohio and the train derailment. The train derailment that happened there after a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. Wow, Palestine.
There's I don't know, the internet is little. There's a conspiracy theory that like the alien shoot downs, like the shooting down of unidentified objects is a conspiracy to cover up these natural disasters and, trains. I don't know. I don't understand it, but it's pretty popular on Reddit.
I heard Tim Pooh blamed Antifa for the train. Always a scion of wisdom in these troubled times, and but I love it because all the right wingers, I heard Marjorie the Titan, and they have no explanation for this shit. Which is basically corporate malfeasance, give or take, and government captured by corporations as well. Because because as far as I've seen, they're still using Civil War era brakes because Trump repealed some regulation after lobbying so that they've reverted back to the Civil War era ones. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is basically corporate corruption. And
anything from the Civil War belongs in a museum.
I mean, you see that the Republicans have no answer to this because what are they going to say? Yeah, of course. They're trying to deflect arguments in the silliest of ways. Antifa. Yeah, it was Antifa.
Legend says that the transportation secretary flew down immediately to the scene of the train derailment to give his condolences to people. No, I'm just kidding. Buddha Judge didn't do that.
Nah, Buddha Judge is something, isn't it? But nearly 300 don't have the screen. And of course, the residents of Palestine, Ohio, don't really trust the government when they tell them it's safe. Since the whole place reeks as well. Kind of hard to believe them, right?
Yeah, so...
But it is the effects of an increasingly deregulated capitalist market where train corporations can get away with everything.
Look at the bright side of life. That waste could have been radioactive. I mean, we're doing pretty well comparatively.
They should use you for their media responses.
Could have been worse.
Yes, we're gonna have cancer, but at least we're not gonna die tomorrow.
Did you see the new South Park episodes?
I didn't, Luigi. Unfortunately,
oh my God,
I will.
They are taking the piss out of Kanye West. Like they're basically telling Kanye to start taking his medicine again because...
I mean, who else has to tell Kanye before he listens? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a South Park episode about you not taking your meds...
By the way,
take your meds.
Matt and Trey, are they Jewish? Is Matt and Trey Jewish?
Yeah, they're Jewish.
Forget about it then. He's not going to take their advice.
He should because it's good advice. It's pretty good advice.
It's good advice, but the messenger is not going to get a clear from Kanye.
Yeah. And the fact that both of the South Park creators are Jewish also allows them to critique that culture in easier than anyone else, you could say, without getting a lot of
it allows you more leeway. Definitely.
Yeah, without being called anti-Semitic, basically.
Which is an accusation easily thrown about, but not a false one regarding Yay.
No, in that specific case for sure. But
Yay definitely qualifies.
Kanye West lost his mind overnight. Like it can only be that he stopped taking his very much needed medication.
Perhaps, but it's. I've started hanging out with Candice, I'm gonna note, before this whole thing escalated.
Who, by the way, doesn't believe in climate change or some person.
My dude, we're talking about Candace. What was it? Hitler should have stayed local Owens. Do you remember that? Do you remember that one?
I don't.
Hitler was
sure.
a globalist.
Wow.
But then final news, if we want to wrap this shit up.
Wrap it up.
I've got the
Elon, tell me the Elon news.
He features again in the fabric of our cosmos.
And once again in our podcast.
He's fired 30 workers after union drive announcement. Love to hear it, folks. I hear some people have been questioning recently whether people have just turned against Elon now. Dude. I don't know about the liberals, and I do not claim to understand or advocate for them. But if you're a leftist, you were against Elon the moment you learned he's a billionaire, and that's that. So fuck off.
Pretty much.
Whether Elon, I would agree that Elon was more of a liberal before. He's definitely turned more Republican.
He's not as much of a billionaire as the other people in the list. Like if you compare him to Bezos or something like that.
Yeah.
Elon isn't there for the money. Elon is basically there to have fun. I don't know, to be able to have legacy.
He's less professional and more manic. I don't know what the angle is.
I think the angle is like you have to have fun with it as well. Like might as well just troll people online as well.
He's kind of an insane person, I'm not gonna lie. And then we had reports that he reportedly forced Twitter algorithm to boost his tweets after his Super Bowl flop. He had a tweet at the Super Bowl. Basically, this is an American sport where you get a huge bowl and you throw a bunch of fried chicken in there, and then whoever eats the most wins. Wow. And it's an excellent game. But Joe Biden tweeted at the Super Bowl, and he got triple the impressions on your website, Elon. On your website.
Siri, boost me.
Siri, I'm ready. Boost me.
Which god do I have to worship? Alexa, is it you?
Dude, he gathered the Twitter chief executive,
ChatGPT God.
He rallied a team of roughly 80 engineers to reconfigure the fucking algorithm.
Empower me.
So boost me. So his tweets
empower your Messiah.
By the way, you use Twitter. Have you been seeing his tweets?
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Dude, he's gonna fuck up the company.
His defense as to why he didn't do that was
I own it. I can't do it.
He basically said something like, I had way more popular tweets. Like he has the proof, and like
God. He's so sad, dude. He's so sad.
Like sometimes he's like a 14-year-old kid, and sometimes like you see glimpse of genius, but the glimpse of genius are getting rarer and rarer, I have to admit.
I refuse to call him a genius in any way, shape, or form.
I said the glimpse, like if you look at it through goggles from a land far away.
From Mars. Any people who can make. He's made some good investment decisions, but that's all I'm giving him. That is all I'm giving him. And it's better what he did than Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, fuck Facebook.
The Zuckerberg.
We love you, Mark. The king of Meta.
King of Meta bringing VR to your doorstep very soon. In a stylish way.
They've been going on about VR for a long while now. It's been more than 10 years, Luigi, since the whole VR thing happened, and it's happening. It still hasn't reached.
Close your eyes.
It still hasn't reached critical mass. I remember 10 years ago reading about VR coming on, and I mean about gaming. To be honest, is what I'm referring. And it still hasn't break through the mainstream.
It's coming. It's coming,
folks.
It's like
it's
the dragons
with J.R.R. Martin's new book.
Like the dragons in Game of Thrones. There's gonna be 10 metaverses.
11 dragons. 5 dragon limbs.
Inside one giant omniverse.
Nice. Engineers deployed, talking about Elon, artificially inflated Musk's tweets by a factor of 1,000.
Inflate me, engineers. Oh, great engineers.
My
Make
man,
me
I hope
into
he
the
does it.
demigod I was meant to be.
He's gonna ruin the website, carries on like this, my dude. It's just gonna be the Elon Twitter. It's gonna be for every 5 Elon tweets, you can read a tweet from somebody else.
If Trump comes back, at some point you're gonna have Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, but I
That's
mean,
gonna be amazing.
he's gonna capitulate because he's gonna bend the knee to Donny. He made some initial moves in favor of DeSantis, but the Donny cut that out immediately.
Godzilla no understand.
Godzilla me no like it, you like DeSantis. No, only meatball rod.
I think it's a good place to call it a day. It's been a fruitful session. I like how the bullshit just accelerates towards the end. We can sense the ending, and like we try to squeeze as much in as we can.
It is true, folks.
See the light at the end of the tunnel.
We do what we can when we must. But
Alrighty. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. George, as always, sir.
Excellent.
The most awesome of pleasures.
Likewise. See you guys. See you everybody. Bye-bye.